My wife secretly stole $300, $0 from our joint account and spent it on a lavish affair with her boss, then lied about the inheritance I never received. Now she's suing me for half the property I built from scratch. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here I am. It all started with what seemed like little signs, odd texts on her phone, late nights when she said she was working, and a sudden change in her attitude. My wife had always been a bit bitchy, demanding, and quick to lie when it suited her, but I never imagined she'd go this far. We had built a decent life together. I was a self-made entrepreneur, working my ass off to create something from nothing. On the other hand, always played the part of the perfect wife, at least, that's what I thought. We had a joint account, and I trusted her completely. I didn't think twice about sharing my hard-earned money with her, especially since she claimed she wanted to help with the household expenses and plan for our future. Things started to feel off about 6 months ago. She'd go out more often, claiming it was just girls' nights with her or some charity event. But I noticed her phone was always locked, and she'd get defensive when I asked about her whereabouts. Still, I shrugged it off. Maybe I was just paranoid. Then I started noticing the small things, missing jewelry, expensive clothes I didn't buy her, and a strange new attitude whenever I brought up money. She'd roll her eyes and say I was overreacting. But the real bombshell came when I checked our joint bank account after she left her phone unattended on the kitchen table one day. That's when I saw it. A transfer of $300, $0 gone. I stared at the screen in disbelief. That kind of money. It was supposed to be our savings for a house, for our future, for the kids we never had. I couldn't believe had stolen that much money. Then I found out what she spent it on, a lavish affair with her boss, Mark. She'd been sneaking around with him for months, spending our money on luxury trips, jewelry, and who knows what else. But that wasn't all. I also uncovered her lies about an inheritance I supposedly received. She kept saying I was lucky, that I had a big inheritance coming from my supposedly deceased aunt. Turns out that inheritance was a lie. She lied about it, probably to justify her lavish spending or to manipulate me into thinking I was some kind of wealthy guy. And then, to make everything worse, she's now suing me for half the property I built from scratch. Just days after I found out, she filed papers claiming she's entitled to half because we're married and she's contributed in her own way. But I know the truth. She's been cheating, stealing, lying, and now she's trying to take everything I worked for. This whole thing is a nightmare. I feel betrayed, humiliated, and honestly kind of numb. I poured everything into building my life, and now I see that my wife was just using me. I don't know what's worse. The fact that she's been cheating with Mark, or that she's trying to take my house away after everything I've done. I'm stuck trying to figure out what's real anymore. When I first found out about the money, I thought I was dreaming. I sat there staring at that bank statement for what felt like hours. The numbers blurred together, but the shock was crystal clear. $300, $0 gone, just like that. I kept asking myself how she managed to do this behind my back, how she could betray me so completely. Had always been a bitch about money, but this was something else. At first I thought maybe it was a mistake, a fraud or some kind of account error. But no, I logged into our online banking and the transfer was legit. There was a trail of her purchases, too. Luxury jewelry, designer clothes, a suite at some fancy hotel downtown, and countless dinners with Mark. I saw the receipts and my stomach turned. She'd been spending our savings on her affair on him. It was so blatant I couldn't believe I'd missed the signs for so long. I remember the moment I confronted her. I was furious. I called her while she was at work, demanding to know what was going on. She answered with that typical bitchy tone, like I was bothering her. I told her I knew everything about the money, about Mark, about the lies. Her response: "You're overreacting as usual. You're just jealous because I'm better off without you. You're always so paranoid, maybe you're the one cheating." That was her go-to excuse, always turning the blame around on me. She insisted she was innocent, that she'd been doing this for us, That Mark was just a friend, that I was imagining things. But I had proof, receipts, bank statements, texts. She tried to deny everything, but deep down I knew she was lying. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt like the ground was shifting beneath my feet. Betrayal, anger, sadness, it all came crashing down at once. I'd built everything from nothing, poured my soul into this life, only to find out she'd been screwing around and stealing from me. When I looked into her eyes during that confrontation, I saw the coldness, the bullshit she spewed to cover her tracks. I was crushed, but I also felt something darker, rage. How dare she take my hard-earned money, my trust, my life? How could she lie so effortlessly, pretend to be the perfect wife while secretly screwing her boss and draining our savings? I wanted to scream, to break something, to make her feel the pain she'd caused me, but I held it in. Instead, I told her I'd find out the truth, no matter what it took. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling around her lies, her sneaky texts, her trips with Mark. I felt like I was in a nightmare from which I couldn't wake up. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, how I missed the signs. It's strange, when you're in love, you want to believe the best about someone, even when they're clearly hiding something. But now I see it clearly. I was just a fool. And that's when I started to plan my next move. I knew I had to do something fast. I couldn't let her get away with this. I needed proof. I needed to understand how deep this went, and I needed to protect what was mine. The house, the business I built, everything was on the line. I started digging into her phone, her emails, her social media accounts. I wanted to catch her red-handed, and I did. It didn't take long. I found a series of texts between her and Mark, explicit messages, plans for their next trip, even pictures of her in bed with him. That was it. I had enough. I decided I'd confront her again, but this time I'd be ready. I knew her pattern: deny, lie, manipulate. But I also knew I couldn't trust her anymore. The betrayal was too deep. I felt like I was losing my mind, but I had to stay calm. I had to get the truth out, and then I'd figure out what to do next. The whole situation was spiraling out of control. It was like I was caught in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I just wanted to be done with the lies, the betrayal, the cheating. But I also knew that I couldn't just walk away without fighting for what was rightfully mine. The house, the property, everything I'd built with my blood, sweat, and tears. She might think she can take it all, but I wasn't about to let her. Not without a fight. After gathering all the evidence, her explicit texts, the bank statements, the hotel receipts, I felt a strange mix of anger and clarity. The truth was out now, no matter how much she tried to spin her lies. I knew she was planning to lie her way out of this, just like she always did. His typical pattern was to deny everything at first, then throw a tantrum, then try to manipulate her way back into control. But I wasn't going to let that happen again. The confrontation I had planned was brutal. I called her at work again, told her I knew everything, and demanded she come home immediately. When she arrived, she had that typical bitchy look on her face, like she knew she was about to spin some more bullshit. I didn't waste time. I laid everything out on the table: the bank transfers, the texts, the receipts. Her reaction: she looked surprised at first, then suddenly angry. She started yelling, calling me paranoid, insecure, and basically accusing me of being the one cheating or stealing. "You're crazy," she snapped. "You think I'd do that? You're just jealous because I found someone better." That's when I lost it. I told her she was full of shit, that I knew about her affair and about the money she'd stolen. She spun her usual lies: "It's not what it looks like. Mark is just a friend. You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I'm more successful than you." But I cut her off. I told her I'd been digging into her phone, her emails, everything. I had proof she was lying, and she could keep pretending, but I wasn't buying it anymore. Her face turned red with rage. She started crying, then screaming, claiming I was ruining her life, that I was a jealous, insecure man who didn't deserve her. She said I was just angry because I wasn't getting what I wanted: her love, her money, her attention. She even accused me of cheating, saying I was probably with some other woman. That was the final straw. I realized she was so good at manipulating. She'd turn everything around on me to make herself the victim. I felt a wave of despair wash over me, mixed with a sickening sense of betrayal. I'd always thought we had a future, that we were building something real. But now I saw her for what she really was: a liar, a cheat, a user. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I'd given her everything, and she'd been secretly screwing her boss, stealing from me, and lying about her inheritance. In that moment, I knew I had to act. I told her she needed to leave not just the house, but my life. I told her I was done with the lies, done with the betrayal. I told her I'd be taking legal action to protect what was mine, especially the house I built from scratch. She looked at me with that nasty smirk, trying to play the victim again, but I wasn't buying it. The aftermath was a whirlwind. She stormed out, screaming and cursing, but I felt a strange sense of relief. Finally, I had the proof I needed. I contacted my lawyer the very next day. We started the process of separating, claiming back what was rightfully mine, and fighting her attempts to sue me for half the property. She thought she could just steal my money, my house, my life, but I was determined not to let her win. That night I sat alone in the house I built, staring at the empty rooms. It felt hollow but also freeing. I knew I had to rebuild, to move on from this nightmare. I realized that trusting someone blindly only leaves you vulnerable. I learned that sometimes the people you love the most can turn out to be the biggest liars. And I learned that revenge isn't about revenge at all. It's about protecting what's yours and making sure the truth comes out. I've got a long road ahead, and I don't know how this will end. But I do know one thing: I won't let her take everything I worked for, not without a fight. I'll rebuild, I'll recover, and I'll find a way to move past this betrayal. Because at the end of the day, the truth always comes out. The legal process has been a nightmare, honestly. Lawyers are trying to spin everything, saying she's entitled to half the property because, in her words, we're married and she contributed. 2. She's claiming she helped with the house, that she's been a good wife, and that I'm just bitter because I got caught. The thing is, I know her game. She's always been manipulative, and now she's trying to turn the tables to save her own ass. I've got the evidence, though. The texts, the bank statements, the receipts, all of it paints a clear picture. She stole our savings, spent it on her affair, lied about the inheritance I never received, and now she's trying to take away what I built. My lawyer keeps telling me I have a strong case, but it's still exhausting. She's throwing everything she's got at me, trying to get half the house, half the business, half everything. Meanwhile, I'm battling feelings of betrayal and rage. Every time I think about her sneaking around with Mark, I get sick to my stomach. I remember the nights I stayed up working late, thinking about our future, only to find out she was out screwing her boss and draining our account. It's like my entire life has been a lie. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, she was just using me to fund her affair, to keep up appearances. And here's the kicker: she's now claiming I was the one cheating, that I was the one sneaking around. She's trying to paint me as the bad guy, the unfaithful husband who's jealous and insecure. It's classic: twist everything, deny the truth, and try to manipulate everyone around her. I can see through her now. I've seen her true colors, and I won't let her get away with it. The worst part is the emotional toll. I feel so betrayed, so angry, so hurt. Every time I see her face in my mind, I remember all the times I thought we were building something real, something lasting. Now I see it was all a lie. I poured my soul into this house, this business, this life. And she just took it all, her way of saying she never loved me, only what I could give her. Despite all of this, I'm trying to stay focused. I keep reminding myself that I have the truth on my side. I'm not the one who stole the money, lied about inheritance, or slept with her boss. I'm the one fighting to keep what's mine. I've been through tough times before, but this feels different. It's like my entire foundation has been shaken, and I don't know who I can trust anymore. I've also started to think about what's next. Do I keep fighting for the house, for my property, or do I just cut my losses and walk away? Honestly, part of me just wants to start over somewhere new, far away from all this mess. But I know I need to see this through, for myself, for what I've built, and for the truth. I've reached out to some friends for advice, and surprisingly, most of them say I should fight tooth and nail. They tell me she's a manipulative bitch, that she's only trying to take what she can get. I've also been talking to a therapist, trying to process the betrayal and the anger. It's helping, but it's hard to shake the feeling that I was so blind for so long. How could I not see her for what she really was? The thing is, I don't want to be bitter forever. I know I'll get through this, I have to. But right now I'm just trying to keep my head above water. Every day feels like a battle, and I have to remind myself why I'm fighting. It's for my integrity, my property, and the truth. I want her out of my life for good, and I want to make sure she doesn't get away with stealing everything I worked for. Honestly, I don't know how this will end. Maybe I'll win the legal battle, maybe she'll succeed in her bullshit, but one thing for sure, I'll never trust her again. Not after all the lies, the cheating, the theft. It's a hard lesson, but maybe it's one I needed to learn. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep, but I'm determined to rebuild stronger, wiser, and more cautious than ever. The days since the legal filings have been a blur of meetings, court dates, and endless sleepless nights. Lawyers keep pushing her version of events, trying to claim she contributed equally to the property and that her affair was just a mistake she's willing to move past. They're trying to paint her as the victim, as if I'm the one who's been cheating or neglecting her. But I know better. I have. The proof, every text, every bank statement, every lie she spun. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if I did something wrong, if I missed the signs, if I could have done something to prevent all this. But deep down, I know this wasn't my fault. I was honest and I trusted her. I built that house with my own hands, poured my blood into every brick. And now she's trying to take it all away, claiming she's entitled to half because she's married and she contributed. That's pure bullshit. The emotional toll is actually worse than the legal battles. I feel like I've been punched in the gut over and over. Every time I see her face, I remember the lies, the betrayal, the nights I stayed up wondering if I was crazy. It's like my entire world has been turned upside down. I thought I knew her, that she was my partner, my wife. But she was just playing a role she's now trying to cash in on. I've been trying to stay strong for my own sanity, but some days I just want to give up. I want to walk away from everything and forget this nightmare. But I know I can't. Not yet. I have to see this through for myself and for the truth. I've also started seeing a therapist, which helps a little. Talking through all this, pouring out my feelings, helps keep me grounded. I've realized I've been suppressing a lot, the anger, the sadness, the sense of betrayal. The thing that hurts most is knowing she's still lying, still trying to manipulate the situation in her favor. She's claiming I was unfaithful, that I was the one sneaking around. It's so ridiculous I almost laugh. I've never cheated on her, never even thought about it. But she's so good at twisting everything, it's like I've become a villain in her twisted story. I keep reminding myself that I have the truth. I've got the evidence. No matter what she says or does, I know what she's guilty of. The money she stole, the lies she told, the affair she's been hiding. I just want her out of my life for good, to move on and rebuild what's left. But the court case drags on and I've got to stay patient. It's exhausting, but I have no choice. Lately I've been thinking about the future. Do I want to stay in this house? Do I want to keep fighting? Honestly, part of me just wants to walk away, start fresh somewhere far away from all this mess. But I also know I have a responsibility to fight for what's mine. I built that house, that business. It's not just property. It's my life's work. I won't let her take it without a fight. I keep reminding myself that this isn't just about money or property. It's about respect, integrity, and knowing I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't cheat, I didn't steal, and I certainly didn't deserve to be betrayed like this. I know I'll come out of this stronger, I have to. I've learned that trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep, but I also believe in justice. So I'm pushing forward one day at a time. I'm gathering my strength, preparing for whatever the court throws at me, and trying to keep my emotions in check. I want to be done with her lies, her manipulation, her game playing. I want my house, my peace, and my life back. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't let her win. I built this life from the ground up, and I'll fight to keep what's mine no matter what. Looking back, I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. I used to trust blindly, believing in the good of people and the sanctity of marriage. Now I see things differently. I see that betrayal can come from where you least expect it, and that sometimes the person you love the most can turn out to be your biggest enemy. It's a bitter lesson, but one I had to learn the hard way. The court case has finally come to a head. My lawyer managed to prove that I was the one who built everything, the house, the business, with my own hands, and that claims to half are baseless. The judge saw through her lies, her manipulations, and her attempts to steal what was rightfully mine. I got full custody of the house, and her claims to property were dismissed. It was a small victory, but it meant everything to me. It reaffirmed that truth still matters, even when the world seems to be against you. The aftermath has been a mix of relief and emptiness. I filed for divorce and she's now gone from my life. I've moved out of the house into a small apartment nearby. It's not much, but it's mine. I'm slowly rebuilding piece by piece. I've started focusing on my work again, pouring my energy into my business and trying to put this nightmare behind me. I won't lie, I still feel the sting of betrayal. There are moments when I wonder if I'll ever fully trust someone again. But I also know that I'm stronger for having gone through this. I've learned to be cautious, to read between the lines, and most importantly, to value myself more. No one should ever manipulate or steal from you, and I refuse to let her win that way. Reflecting on everything, I realize I've gained more than I lost. I've learned that honesty and integrity are everything, and that sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even if it costs you everything. I've learned that betrayal is a reflection of the other person's character, not yours. And I've learned that true strength comes from within, from standing your ground when everything else is falling apart. To anyone going through something similar, trust your instincts, gather your evidence, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. People can be deceitful, but the truth always comes out in the end. Hold on to your integrity, protect what's yours, and never let anyone take away your hard work without a fight. This experience has been brutal, but it's also made me realize what really matters: honesty, resilience, and the courage to rebuild after everything falls apart.